Meghan! Meghan! Meghan!
Oh dear, it seems that Halloween came early to Paris. Was it a ghoul, a ghost, a banshee, or a white witch? Take your pick, my dear. But something was trick-or-treating, and she's really gone and put her foot in it, hasn't she? Those trotters of hers, both of them actually, in her high heels, she's really put her foot into it. And this was her first visit to Europe for 2 years. So what bliss it's been for you, dear Europe, and us. She was there in town to support her friend, Pier Paolo Piccioli. And she wore what can only be described, well, it can be described as many things. An angel soft ensemble, perhaps, or the lavatory paper twin set, the bog roll two-piece. She wore a stunning cape of Andrex, blouse by Kleenex, and the pants were provided by Charmin. And it seems like she had a very serious word with makeup artist Daniel Martin, didn't she? Danny boy, we need to try something different. Like Dior. You know, I want to press Christian Dior. Like Dior, I think that I should create a new look for this new era. The era of Meghan Rachel. So don't bronze me up again. No, keep her bronzer away from me. We're not in Hollywood. This is a new era, a new look. And, you know, that's also 2021, isn't it? We don't need to pander to that crowd anymore. So where's the talcum powder? Or a different kind of white powder that you might have at your disposal. Make me a waxy mannequin. Yes, that's what I'm going for. I'm going to channel heroin chic. I'm going to give it Kate Moss with a bit of conjunctivitis around the eyes, you know, for that grimy look. Heroin chic. Swaddle me in a straitjacket. And bed sheets, like I've escaped from the loony bin. I'm serving embalmed, just like one of my heroines. Evita Peron. Yes, I want to look like the corpse of Ava. I want to be dazzling. I want to be rainbow high in monochrome. Well, she was all pale and wan, wasn't she, my dear? With the pout. And there was no Hollywood grin this time. I'm a fashionista, she's telling us. I'm a model. She's living out her model fantasy. No, darling, you were never scouted, like some of us, for the runways, like some of us. You were never that sort of photogenic, despite your girl next door, sunshine looks. I know what Europe wants, she thinks. Oh, yeah, no permatan and teeth for me while I'm in gay Paris. They want chic, they want edgy, they want my beauty, so I've got to give it to them. Rachel, you are not the Princess of Wales. You're the Duchess of Snails. And thus she slimed into the Balenciaga show. And there was a terribly grand and important announcement from her spokesman. I notice now she has a spokesman instead of a spokesperson. Is it not quite so woke around Montecito these days that you can now be gender specific? The spokesman said Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, attended the Balenciaga show in Paris on Saturday night in support of Paolo Piccioli, who recently assumed the role of creative director for the house. This marks her first time back to the shows in over a decade. This is too funny, and this is hilarious because, darling, we are not talking about the great grand comeback of Linda Evangelista. This is more like Glinda Vagina Blister. Do you understand? Over the years, the Duchess has worn a number of designs by Pier Paolo. They have worked closely together, collaborating on design for key moments on the world stage. She has long admired his craftsmanship and modern elegance, and tonight was no different. This evening reflects the culmination of many years of artistry and friendship, reflected in her support for his new creative chapter at Balenciaga. Well, Mr. Piccioli was 25 years at Valentino and actually became creative director in more recent years, and you might recall that Meghan was seen wearing Valentino on a few occasions in the past, memorably the white affair during one of the Invictus Games, and then there was the red dress affair during that 3-day trip to Morocco. Those spring to mind as examples. Well, I don't care if you're Vogue magazine or Kay's catalogue, no one's going to convince me that that's a fetching look. No, sorry, I reject it. Maybe if one was going camping for the weekend and wanted some sort of outfit that would double as a sleeping bag, or something that could be tucked in at night, fair enough, there you go. She actually did better with the black number, I thought, although it didn't enhance her figure very well, but that was much better. And I noticed that she was accompanied by a very handsome gentleman. I don't know if he's some bigwig or some bodyguard. I'm not quite sure who he is, my dear, but I thought, ooh la la, ooh la la. And she trotted in, didn't she, on those hoofs of hers, trotted and strutted around as if she is taken to the runway. The whole of Paris is waiting just for Meghan Markle. And there was an awkward kissy-kissy moment when she bumped into her friend, Mr. Pitcherley. And I noticed, actually, because the press got hold of the footage where they're sort of clanging around each other, like two trolleys bashing into each other in a supermarket. But then when she posted it on her Instagram stories, that little moment was gently erased, and all was elegant and all was fine and all was hunky-dory. And then she was oiling around with Anna Wintour, wasn't she, who loves the king, as we've spoken about before. Anna Wintour loves the king and she loves the royal family. Well, apparently she told Meghan, beautiful chérie, you look amazing. Interesting. But remember, that's exactly what she used to say to Andre Leon Talley. So edgy is Meghan, so editorial. She struts around on those trotters as if she's Naomi Campbell, trailing sanitary towels. Living out the model fantasy. She could appear in a video for I'm Too Sexy by Right Said Fred, couldn't she? I'm a model, you know what I mean. I do my little turn on the catwalk. Supermodel work. Make love to the camera, I ask you. Model my arse. She couldn't model clay. Your currency, darling, is as the wife of a duke and a British prince, and it's because your inelegant mischief sells copy. That's all it is, my dear, but you're not Josephine Baker. You might be bananas, and you might be shaking them around, but you're not Josephine Baker. You're not even Josephine Bonaparte, the Duchess of Navarre. So, yeah, you're making headlines, dear, but it's for all the wrong reasons. But please, will you do us a favour and stop trying to convince us that the 90s are calling for you because they're missing one of the supermodels, and you're in there with Christy Turlington and the likes of Naomi Campbell and Cindy Crawford. And in fact, it seems that the only high-end designer brand that you're snuggling up with and cozying up to is one that has been recently disgraced and suffered a cancellation of a kind in recent years. So perhaps they'll just do anything at all for a little bit of attention to deflect from other matters. Indeed, Meghan has been criticised severely for footage that was taken by herself. She was taking selfies in her limousine. She was cruising Paris post the after-show party. Now, this was in the vicinity of Pont d'Alma, where Diana, Princess of Wales, met her demise all those years ago. She was displaying her Balenciaga knife heels. She cruised, actually, past the Pont Alexandre Troisième, which approaches Pont d'Alma, so she wasn't actually in the same precise location, but it made the optics of the whole vignette seem extremely careless. She did not stay at the Ritz, which is where Diana and Dodi stayed the night before Diana's death, but Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez did stay there, and then later on they joined the likes of Meghan and Anne Hathaway for the Balenciaga show. I know there will be many people out there who believe that it was an intentionally malevolent sort of act by Meghan. I don't believe that. I believe that it was a damaging miscalculation. It was unfortunately sloppy. I mean, stupid, to be quite honest with you. Because as we know, Prince Harry has already told the story of his own drive through that location at Pont d'Alma to trace his late mother's final journey. And it's unfortunate that it didn't occur to Meghan how insensitive this whole entire scenario is and would be. As we know, Harry doesn't want history repeated, but it seems that his wife is absolutely happy to be seen toying with the idea of it. For a publicity-shy princess who doesn't want attention at all, oh no, 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 stay away from me, well, she sure puts on a convincing masquerade, doesn't she, my dear? A masquerade of enjoying the press attention and revelling in the warm glow of paparazzi flashlights. It's the city of lights and they're shining for me, she tells herself. Maybe they can rename Paris as Sussex. Sussex. Ah oui, oui, oui. Ah oui, 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 la saucisson. Rachel, Meghan, Markle, Sussex. La reine du monde! And I must say, time continues to reveal my long-held reservations about the rest of the Markle clan. Yes, it does. They all have redeeming features, from Tom to Samantha, of course they do. But I've never blamed Meghan for shielding her family from them. No, I have not one jot. I do exactly the same. They fraternise with not just critics of Meghan, who is their daughter and sister, but they fraternise with some characters who have indulged in and profited greatly from the most vicious narratives, and occasionally I've heard downright lies coming from these people told for money. Truly unforgivable in my estimation. So I don't care what Meghan's done, it's a hideous betrayal. And if you don't see that, I pity your upbringing. It's not necessarily your fault. But I'm glad to say over the last few years that most have come around to my way of seeing things, how I always saw things, and time has revealed. It's called common sense. But it was rather amusing to see all of Meghan's plans to take the headlines for her beauty and her glamour and her fashion prowess be replaced by all the disparaging criticism about what she's been getting up to, what she's been wearing, and with her own father sitting on the 19th floor apartment in his home in the Philippines. He's 81 years old now, and an earthquake with a magnitude of 6.1 struck quite recently. And Thomas Markle Jr. lives in the flat next door to his father, apparently. He's been dating a 27-year-old Philippine young lady by the name of, what was it, Ting Tong? Rose. Shy Rose. So congratulations there. It's apparently a complex with a mall at one end and a hotel at the other end. And there's a pool, there's a cinema, entertainment options. They love it there. Well, apparently Samantha claimed that Thomas Sr. was stuck on the 19th floor, that he can't walk, and that he was trapped. And she blamed it all on Meghan. This is the thing that took the biscuit. I mean, come on. Well, there seems to be some sort of disagreement or contested stories there within the camp, because Mr. Markle denied all of this and said that he's absolutely fine, doesn't really know what she's talking about. And, with regards to the ongoing libel case involving Samantha and Meghan, well, as I said years ago, she never had a case. She hasn't got a case. She's not going to win a case. So, you can scream and shout at me all you want and throw your tomatoes and rotten eggs, but the fact is, it would have saved herself a great deal of stress, money and heartache if she had listened to me all those years ago. And, she's been suing for demonstrably fake and malicious statements made by Meghan, which actually, in hindsight, with the last week, blaming her father being stuck on the 19th floor in the Philippines, unable to walk, on Meghan, all these years later. Seems like a little bit of projection, doesn't it, darling? Just a little. I always believed the niece. Yes, I did. And Samantha's own daughter. And all these claims get made about how Samantha's career might have suffered because her reputation was in tatters because of what Meghan said. Well, I don't know how successful the career was before, as Samantha Grant. But what I will say is that even if her reputation was damaged and she was disparaged, and so even if that were true, she is now in a position, because of her sister, because of YouTube and all of this, where she has an enormous platform, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, watch her. She can be reached by many, 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 many more prospective clients than she ever could have done in the past. And I don't see why she can't, if she hasn't already done this. I'm not that au fait with it all, so I wouldn't know. But why she can't practice from home, with a decent fee by the hour, procuring clients from all the social media that she does, and all the interviews and all the YouTubers and her own platforms and everything, from the comfort of her own home. I can't see why that wouldn't be very fortuitous, very profitable, very fruitful for her. If life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, don't you, my dear? Then you stay fruity. Susan Ashcroft said, following on from my comment of losing a few dames this year, it's just been announced Dame Jilly Cooper has died. I can't say I know much about her other than her book writing, or if indeed she's your cup of tea, River, but that'll be 2 dames in a week. Yeah, following on from our dear Dame Patricia Routledge. Talk about contrasts. One a writer of hot and steamy books, the other whose character was a writer of invitations to candlelit suppers. Rest in peace, ladies. Well, yeah, well, of course, as I've said many times on the broadcast, because she always pops up at royal events, I think Jilly Cooper was utterly fabulous. I was so sad to hear that she's gone. My granny reads her books. I've never actually read one of her books, I must confess, and I've never seen one of the TV series, and I know how popular they are and well watched. It's just not really my bag, my dear. It's not my bag to invest my time in that sort of thing and that sort of fiction. I do other things, but I always adored her television interviews, her personality, and would probably be more oriented towards her non-fiction writing and her musings on class, probably more up my street. But just a fabulous, sparkling, eccentric British personality. 88 years old she was, and her death followed a fall. This is why it was such a shock, because she was in great spirits and health apparently. So the family, her children Felix and Emily, so they're in complete shock. This happened yesterday, by the way, but it was announced today. And there are about 12 million of her books sold, with her series of The Rutshire Chronicles being her greatest success, of course, with the character Rupert Campbell Black, inspired rather loosely by Queen Camilla's ex-husband, Andrew Parker Bowles, who was a very charismatic playboy of his time. Still is, if you ask his girlfriend, Anne Robinson. But she's always had a hugely affectionate relationship with the King and Queen Camilla, and she was born Jill Sallet in 1937. She was sacked from 22 jobs in PR, which sounds like a PR story in itself, doesn't it? Before she found fame in about 1985, really, when Riders was released. She was 48 years old, and there followed Rivals and Polo and The Man Who Made Husbands Jealous and all of this. Queen Camilla said, I was so saddened to learn of Dame Jilly's death last night. Very few writers get to be a legend in their own lifetime, but Jilly was one, creating a whole new genre of literature, making it her own through a career that spanned over 5 decades. In person, she was a wonderfully witty and compassionate friend to me in so many, and it was a particular pleasure to see her just a few weeks ago at my Queen's Reading Room Festival, where she was, as ever, a star of the show. I join my husband, the King, in sending our thoughts and sympathies to all her family, and may her hereafter be filled with impossibly handsome men and devoted dogs. Wasn't that a lovely message from the Queen? It's one of the reasons I absolutely adore her, mentioning all those handsome men and devoted dogs. Love it. Love our Queen Camilla. She's fabulous. Now, William is also fabulous in his own way, and he's the president of BAFTA, to do with British Film Awards and all of this. And in that capacity, he was at Bad Wolf Studios in Cardiff, and he met BAFTA Prince of Wales bursary trainees, exploring the sets of shows like Doctor Who, The Other Bennett Sister, and he joined in with a puppetry workshop. I wonder if it was puppetry of the penis. That would be quite a show, wouldn't it, ladies? I'm sure that would be sold out. You could do it with Harry. You could have Big Willie and Little Todger doing puppetry of the penis. Oh, now that would be something, wouldn't it? Now that would put bums on seats. What a vision. I digress. He was also announcing finalists of the Earthshot Prize, and he was speaking about the time when he sat under the big oak tree 5 years ago, because he returned to the oak tree, which is gorgeous, isn't it? I love the footage of this, running his hands over the bark of that girthy, pliable trunk of his. I only mentioned that in the last broadcast, didn't I? It seems like William read my mind. Well, it's a truly magnificent legacy that Prince William is building, and the next Earthshot is to be held in Rio de Janeiro in November. There are 15 finalists. It's all jolly exciting, and the Earthshot Prize CEO, if you may recall, is none other than Mr. Jason Knauf. Yes, Meghan's nemesis, the one who told the palace about her machinations, the Sussex survivors, and said the Duchess always seems to have someone in her sight Well, Jason Knauf remains in Prince William's sight, and he remains in a vaulted position as CEO of the Earthshot Awards. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, Meghan. A slightly more domestic subject here, but I wanted to mention one of the scourges of post-war Britain is ugly housing. From the brutalist tower blocks or the architecture of the 50s and 60s and 70s, a few people adore brutalist architecture. I loathe it. I don't care how technologically advanced or interesting it is, I absolutely loathe it. I think it sucks the energy and the goodness out of the air. It's such an ominous presence in some parts of the kingdom. But you have that, then you have, later on came some rather grotesque, cheap cladding all over the place that encumbers various monstrosities. And then you have new estates springing up more recently, very new build looking, kind of smart but identikit, as if they're sort of flat packed out of IKEA, this sort of thing. Look like matchboxes, all squeezed together, barely an inch of space between all of them. And these estates have no community. If you live in the kingdom, you'll be au fait with seeing these appearing over our fields, our meadows, any inch of spare space to be developed. They destroy all of these environments, and they're an enormous problem. Well, of course, housing is a problem in itself. We need new housing, especially with so many pouring into the kingdom and lots of old, inefficient housing. Well, I think it's a scandal, actually, that architects and planners are permitted to blight the country with buildings, estates, and so-called homes that look as if they've been designed by people with an abject hatred for humanity. I don't understand. I've seen more inviting prisons, but they pop up everywhere. And I'm saying this to preface the fact that King Charles's project of Poundbury, which is the new town that he helped design, and it was his sort of what the press like to call a vanity project, but really he was just trying to find a new way to bring order to the chaos of new estates and new towns. But most who visit agree that what it may lack in a certain sort of soul and trees, for example, I'm told that more trees are needed. Most agree that it's made up for with some of its community spirit, its order, its neatness, its pride in its attractive buildings. I really do enjoy the buildings there compared to anything else modern that springs up, and its thoughtful architecture, you know, for those who have criticisms about it. And I've heard that it's more or less become a bit of a retirement community for those in the later years of life. For those who object to some of its either aesthetics or the fact that there's not much in the way of shops there at the moment, do bear in mind that you have to compare it to all the other kinds of new estates and towns that spring up. How does it compare to them? And no, there isn't much footfall, so shops are not being encouraged to set up there, which doesn't help the community. But of course, when Poundbury was in its planning stages, nobody could have really foreseen the fact that every high street would suffer from the burgeoning online marketplace. Do you understand? But for every detractor, it has its enthusiast. And it seems that actually the King's work with these places has had an effect on the Prime Minister, because Labour announced that they are to create 12 new towns to combat housing equality, and Sir Keir Starmer has suggested that he's been taking inspiration from the King's developments themselves, namely Poundbury and also Nansledden, which was developed by the Duchy of Cornwall. And you might recall that Sir Keir visited with the King earlier in the year. I think Angela Rayner was there at the time as well. Oh dear, she's gone now. But this will bring 300,000 new homes over 12 new location sites, and the Prime Minister appears to have been struck by the quality of the buildings in the King's Poundbury and Nansledden. So do you see how the King's work, decades in the making, is going on to influence and impress decision makers, and will have an impact on these 12 new towns, which can learn from the goodness that's been brought by the likes of Poundbury, and also can learn from some of the criticism that it's received, because it was an experimental project, wasn't it, that we can learn from as a template. And I'm excited to see how these 12 new sites inspired by the King are going to pan out, because I'm sick to death of these ugly matchbox affairs that keep springing up all over our gorgeous meadows and fields in between villages and towns, and ruining the built environment and not really inspiring any sort of community with no local amenities. So we need some improvement there. Let's have some optimism and some encouragement for this. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me, my dear. Do leave a nice fruity thought or comment in the comment section. If I made you giggle or made you chuck something at the TV, then please feel free to visit my tip jar in the description box, and I look forward to seeing you on the next broadcast. Ta-ra, my dears, and toodle pip.